Michael Ford, The Wild Side. The Wild Side, Michael Ford.
When you look at me, do you think, that guy works with computers? You'd be close. When you look at me, do you think, that guy drives a nice luxury car? Or maybe a fuel-efficient Prius? If you thought that, then you'd be wrong. Because you see, I have a wild side. I like sports cars. And I like them fast, slick, and dangerous. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, when I graduated college, I got my first real job. I was making a little bit of money, and I thought I should have a new car. Or at least one newer than the 1985 Capri Classic. That was a hand-me-down from my parents. It had 80,000 miles on it. It was a nice car. It had all the luxury features you could want. But my parents agreed that a newer car would be safer and more reliable. Boy, did I ever throw them a curveball. I really was planning to buy a nice luxury car, maybe even a four-door. But that all changed one day when I was thumbing through an Auto Trader magazine. As I turned the page, suddenly I could hear gospel music. The choir was singing. I couldn't read the ad for the noise. I had to turn off the TV. Then I looked back, and there it was. A 1984 Chevrolet Corvette. It was only $5,000. How could I pass that up? Was it newer than the car I had? It was actually a year older. Was it more reliable than the car I had? Well, it had 150,000 miles on it. It was about twice what mine had. Was it safer than the car I had? You ask any insurance agent how safe a Corvette is. And he'll tell you to triple your insurance rates and ask him again. I was not put off. I liked that car. I was so sure I was going to buy that car. I collected the $5,000 together in cash, and I headed out on a 90-mile journey from Mississippi to Memphis, Tennessee, to take a look at that car. During the drive up there, my heart was pounding. I couldn't wait to see my new car, the one with 150,000 miles on it. I kept looking at that ad with the 1-inch by 1-inch newsprint photo. It looked perfect. What could be wrong with it? Then I arrived. From 20 feet away, I could see what was wrong with it. Every body panel was scratched or dented. And when I got closer, it got worse. The windshield was cracked. It needed new brakes. It needed new carpet. The headlight wouldn't flip up. Pretty much everything on this car that moved or lit up needed to be fixed. It was at this point when I started to become surprised. Then I took it for a test drive, and I discovered something. I discovered that car had more power than the Queen Mary ship. It was too late. I was in love. All those little problems, I didn't see those anymore. When we got back from that test drive, oh, you better believe I whipped out that $5,000. I got the keys and I got the title. Of course, I didn't really need the keys because the ignition was so worn out, I could crank it without the keys. And the door locks didn't work either. But to me, that was just a bonus. I didn't have to fool with any keys. As soon as I got that car home, I took it to a race shop. I was going to get that engine tuned up perfectly. And all those other little problems fixed too. $2,500 later, it was drivable. But it was worth it. At that time in Mississippi, there were many remote areas where you could go to test your car. I could take this car to a stop sign in the middle of nowhere, no one around for miles, and I could hit that gas full force. But when I did that, I had to brace myself. I had to tense up in the same way fighter pilots tense up when they do extreme maneuvers. Because if I did not tense up, that car could accelerate so hard it would draw the blood out of my legs and make my legs go weak. That's how powerful that car was. I know what you're thinking. You're sitting there thinking, that is awesome! And it was! I loved that car. Every time I took it out was an adventure. But I was the only one. Everyone else hated that car. It was loud, it vibrated, it was hard to get into and out of. It was uncomfortable when you could get into it. The air conditioner didn't work. No one liked that car. And I certainly couldn't let anyone drive it because it was dangerous. One time, I took it to get it fixed. Actually, I took it to get it fixed quite often. But one time in particular, I took it to get it fixed and I let a friend of mine drive the car to the garage. After we arrived, he stepped out, slowly, shaking a little bit. And he turned to me and he said, I will never drive that car again. You see, my friend was used to driving luxury cars from the 70s and 80s. And those cars, when you turn the steering wheel, you have about 4 to 6 turns lock to lock. But in a Corvette, you have about 1 turn lock to lock. So when you turn that steering wheel a little bit, that car moves a lot. He was not used to that. And he certainly was not used to the acceleration. When you come to a stop sign or traffic light, you probably just push your gas pedal halfway down when you're ready to go. Well, you don't do that on an 84 Corvette. If you just push the gas pedal down halfway, it will lift up the hood and jump out from under you. No, that car was dangerous. And I loved every mile I put on it. Eventually, though, the repairs became too frequent and too expensive. So I decided I had to get a new car. So I got another Corvette. And today I am on my 4th Corvette. And I still like my sports cars fast, slick, and dangerous. Mr. Toastmaster.